The humid grasp of Veridara's great southern swamp, thick with decay and alien sweetness, clung to Jace Morrow's face shield. Each step into the viscous green mire was a fight against the planet's attempt to swallow him, his enviro staff probing the treacherous ground. Above, colossal fungi and ancient spore trees wove a canopy that cast the world in an emerald underwater gloom. The air thrummed, not just with thumb-sized jewel-winged insects, but with a low-frequency vibration from deep within the planet geothermal activity, or something else entirely. 3 days ago, a flash flood, a roaring wall of brown water and debris, had obliterated their forward research camp, scattering everything. Jace had survived by clinging to a shattered sensor drone, washed miles away. Sira, lead xenobotanist, and the reason he'd taken this hazardous post, was gone. Her biomonitor flatlined moments after the flood hit. Protocol demanded he report her lost, await evac. But Jace couldn't, not Sira. Her twilight teal skin seemed to hold captured starlight, her eyes the calm of ancient forests, her mind sharp as obsidian. She wasn't the type easily extinguished. He pushed through dripping, iridescent vine cinto, yet another identical stretch of oppressive swamp. His scanner flickered weakly against Veridara's chaotic magnetic fields. He had to find her. He owed her that much. Selfishly, he couldn't face returning alone. The silence pressed, broken by his squelching boots, buzzing insects, and the occasional shriek of an unseen predator. He adjusted the scanner filters, desperate, a flicker. Less than 2 clicks northwest, faint, intermittent but Alari biosigns matching Sira's profile. Relief struck him, weakening his knees. Alive, or recently so. He surged forward, ignoring thorns snagging his suit, roots tripping him, the mud fighting every step. The signal led to a subtle rise, a small island dominated by immense, bioluminescent reeds pulsing with a soft, blue-green light that pushed back the gloom. There, huddled at the base of the tallest cluster, almost lost against the alien flora, was a figure. Sira. The name was a choked whisper. He stumbled the last few meters onto firmer ground. Sira! It's Jace. She didn't react. Kneeling, relief curdled into anxiety. She trembled violently despite the humid warmth. Her teal skin flushed dark purple, mottled with fever. Her breathing was shallow, ragged. Her eyes, wide and unfocused, stared through him. He hesitantly placed a gloved hand on her shoulder, feeling unnatural heat radiating through her thin undersuit. An odd, faint energy signature registered on his suit sensors alongside the heat, almost instantly dismissed as interference. Sira, talk to me. Are you hurt? Her head snapped towards his touch, eyes suddenly sharp, locking onto his with a terrifying primal need. Jace. Her voice was a low, cracked rasp. Don't. Go. Stay. Need. Close. Her hand shot out, fastening Gonto his forearm with astonishing strength, fingers digging deep. It wasn't aggression. It was pure panic, a drowning grip. Easy, Sira, he soothed, trying to loosen her hold gently. You're safe, but you're burning up. He scanned her, noticing small, inflamed puncture wounds near her right wrist, surrounded by swollen, discolored tissue. Angrier, deeper than the usual swamp leech marks. Bit me, she managed, confirming his fear. After the flood, in the water, trying to climb. Small thing, dark, fast, pulled it off. Hurt, then. This. She shuddered violently, leaning into him, pressing her forehead against his chest plate, consumed by a desperate need for contact. Stay, Jace. Please. This raw vulnerability was unlike the composed scientist he knew. He activated his suit's med scanner. The HUD scrolled alarming data: core temperature critical, tachycardia extreme, metabolic rate through the roof. Neural activity showed erratic spikes, severe shock, or neurotoxin. But the toxin analysis was baffling. Conflicting markers for venom, parasitic enzymes, symbiotic transfer agents, even faint traces of synthetic nanites. Biological gibberish. "We need to get you to the field station." Jace, projecting calm he didn't feel. "The main lab has better gear." He tried to help her stand, but she resisted, whimpering, clinging with that unbreakable grip. "No. Station," she gasped, eyes wide with a fear beyond her physical state. Storms coming back. Worse. Saw the sky, atmosphere unstable. "Can't make it. Too weak. Just stay. With me." He looked up. Through gaps in the canopy, the sky was darkening rapidly. Bruised purple-black clouds boiling on the horizon, shot with green lightning. The air felt heavy, charged. Another superstorm, gathering faster than predicted. The field station was nearly 5 kilometers away, an impossible trek for her now. Staying exposed was equally unthinkable. "All right, Sira," he conceded, making the hard choice. "We go to the station. Together. Lean on me." He slipped an arm around her waist, taking her weight. She sagged against him, radiating feverish heat. As soon as he held her close, her shivering lessened, her breathing smoothed slightly. It wasn't just psychological comfort, he realized with unease. His physical proximity seemed to be actively mitigating her symptoms, fulfilling some biological requirement triggered by the bite. What in the twin moon's light had bitten her? The journey back was a descent into an emerald hell. The storm broke with Veridaran fury, turning the Swampinto a roaring nightmare of wind, lashing rain, and rising water. Visibility dropped to near zero. Bioluminescent guides flared erratically, then winked out, plunging them into darkness split by lightning that illuminated monstrous shapes. Jace navigated by instinct and Sira's fragmented whispers against his ear. Her condition deteriorated. Delirium set in botanical terms mixed with fearful Alari pleas, and the constant, desperate refrain for him to hold her closer. Her dependence on his touch became absolute, terrifying. If the storm forced him to shift his grip, her body convulsed, vitals spiking dangerously on his HUD. His physical presence was tethering her life force. He found himself maintaining maximum contact, pressing her against him simply to keep her alive. The furnace heat taxed his suit's climate systems. They staggered onward. Things brushed his legs sleek, fast shapes vanishing before identification. Sira cried out sharply as a submerged vine snagged her injured arm, tearing bite wounds open. Jace cursed, applying a sealant patch, but it weakened her further. She leaned almost her entire weight on him, consciousness flickering. "Almost there, Sira," he urged, voice raw against the storm. "Station beacon!" Through the rain, the faint pulse of the habitat module's light offered a tiny island of sanity. They practically collapsed through the outer airlock as the door hissed shut, sealing out the violence. The sudden quiet amplified their ragged breathing. Emergency decontamination mist swirled. Sira slumped against the wall, shivering, despite the inferno within. Jace helped her out of the heavy suit, half carrying her to the compact medical bay, settling her onto the diagnostic couch. Her skin felt impossibly hot. He activated the main med scanner. The data flooding the display was deeply disturbing. Core temp lethal range. Metabolic rate astronomical. Neural pathways blazing uncontrollably. The foreign agent analysis remained perplexing: nanites, venom, parasite, symbiote conflicting signals. Then his eyes caught a secondary display, comparative biosync analysis. His vitals alongside Sira's. Impossible. Their cardiovascular rhythms were synchronizing, falling into an unnatural coupled pattern. Their neural waves showed subtle, emergent correlations. "What is this?" Jace whispered, staring at the converging graphs. "This isn't just a bite. It's some kind of link. It's connecting us." Sira stirred, eyes clouded but aware. "Jace," she rasped, reaching a trembling hand. "Closer. Need." He hesitated. Biohazard protocol screamed isolation. But she wasn't just a specimen. She was Sira. Her agony, her biological insistence on his proximity, seemed tied to her survival. The data confirmed it. Contact stabilized her. Separation destabilized her rapidly. Just as he reconciled this, klaxons erupted. Crimson emergency lights strobed. Station lockdown initiated. An automated voice announced, "External atmospheric conditions exceed safety thresholds. Containment protocols engaged. Biohazard signature detected. Medical bay. Quarantine level 4. Heavy shutters slammed down. The corridor door sealed with a heavy thud. Locked in. The station's automated systems, reacting to Sira's chaotic biosignatures and the storm, had triggered full containment. No overrides from inside. No access to the main lab. No way to call for help. Trapped, utterly alone, potentially for days. He turned back to Sira, her hand still weakly outstretched, eyes filled with fear, pain, and that inexplicable need. The synchronization graphs continued their impossible dance. He knew what he had to do with the universe, or whatever bit Sira seemed to be forcing. Protocols be damned. He sat on the edge of the couch, took her burning hand, intertwining their fingers. Instantly, the violent trembling subsided into a deep shudder. Her breathing eased. Her eyes closed, the lines of agony softening. On the monitor, her heart rate stabilized, rhythm smoothing, aligning more closely with his. He watched, feeling profound unease warring with a strange warmth flowing from their joined hands. He was her anchor, her biological stabilizer, but the implications were staggering. What had that creature injected? Why this dependency, specifically on him? The red lights pulsed. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, a quieter, more insidious storm gathered, weaving an invisible, unnatural tether between them. He was trapped, not just by Duraplast, but by a biological imperative he was only beginning to grasp. This felt orchestrated. The bite was just the beginning. Time blurred, marked by flashing crimson lights, the receding storm's howl, and Sira's fluctuating state. Jace remained anchored to her side, maintaining physical contact. Sleep came in fitful bursts, his hand always resting on her arm or shoulder. Even the slightest separation triggered a moan, tremors, dangerous dips on the monitors, jolting him awake to reestablish the contact her body silently demanded. During lucid moments, Sira spoke little, apologizing for trapping him. He offered empty reassurances, seeing his own fear mirrored in her fever-bright eyes. They were adrift in uncharted biological territory. When she slept, Jace used the med bay's secondary console, pushing its limited capabilities. He ran recursive analyses on the bioagent data, filtering noise. Patterns emerged, complex protein folding, recursive genetic sequences, and unmistakable advanced nanoparticulate architecture. Microscopic machines interwoven with the organic venom. Nanospore structuring, not natural. Engineered. Engineered, Jace breathed. Sirah, this wasn't random. Someone made this. Sira stirred, eyes opening, finding his. Comprehension mixed with ancient fear dawned. Engineered, she echoed, voice raspy but sharper. The legends, Jace. Forbidden histories. What legends? Ancient Alari history, she whispered, gaze a distant. Before the Federation, the time of burning skies, warring tribes, endless conflict, whispers of a weapon, developed by the Psyche Weavers clan, Shimval, tetherworms. Jace searched his memory of sanitized Federation archives. Never heard of them. Biological weapons. Parasites engineered with psychic resonance, Sira explained. Urgency lending strength. Dispersed. Infected opposing factions. Didn't kill. They bound. Created overwhelming psychic, biological compulsion for proximity. Like this. She squeezed his hand weakly. Legends say it ended the wars, infecting leaders, generals, making them dependent on enemies. Unable to fight. Bare separation. A forced peace. Horrific, Jace muttered. Surely it wore off. That's the part the histories omit, she whispered, voice low. The bonds never faded, integrated, became permanent, woven into the host genome, passed down. Some theorize modern Alari harmony, our empathic sensitivities, might be a lingering echo. The tech was deemed too dangerous, purged, Psyche Weavers exiled. But what if someone found the research, updated it, released it here? Jay stared, connecting the pieces, nanospore architecture, vital sign synchronization, compulsive need for contact. It aligned disturbingly with her description. Add technology to enforce connection, control through dependency. But why here? Why them? An isolated expedition. Who would do this, Sira? Why test it onus? A Federation scientist and an Alari xenobotanist. Unless, Sira murmured, eyes widening, the target wasn't random. Unless they needed an Alari subject. Veridara is on the edge of the old Alari expansion zone, near ancient ruins. Perhaps they believed the research originated here. Or my physiology, my genetics, offer unique data for stabilizing the bond cross species. Perhaps they needed a human control subject too. You, a secret test of a resurrected bioweapon. They weren't victims. They were lab rats. Just then, the console pinged, having isolated another data fragment, residual genetic markers matching local Veridaran aquatic microfauna, and embedded within the nanospore matrix itself, non-biological microscopic tracer elements like crystalline serial numbers. The delivery system, Jace realized, they weaponized a native creature. He ran the tracer's signature against known databases. No direct match, but the underlying structure triggered a faint memory from a corporate espionage briefing years ago. Project designation, Project Devotion, covertly funded by the Typhon Corporation, notorious for ruthless R&D and ethically ambiguous pursuits. Official goal? Redacted, personnel cohesion and loyalty enhancement. Typhon Corp, Jay said, tasting bitterness. Project Devotion, loyalty enhancement. Sira, they didn't just recreate it to force peace. They modernized it to engineer absolute loyalty. Soldiers who can't disobey, workers bound to jobs, citizens incapable of dissent. Sira recoiled, monstrous, using our biology, our connection, to enslave us. And we, Jace finished grimly, were the first successful cross-species test. Phase 1. Proof of concept. He looked at the synchronization data. The experiment was working. Typhon wouldn't leave their valuable experiment unsupervised. Extraction would be next. They would come for their assets. After nearly 30 hours, the storm exhausted itself. The wind subsided. The rain eased. Twin moons hung like spectral pearls in the clearing twilight. With external conditions improving, the station cautiously rolled back lockdown protocols. Medbay shutters retracted, flooding the room with alien light. The main corridor door remained locked, quarantine level 4, still active. Sira's condition had paradoxically improved as the storm waned. The fever broke, leaving her weak, drenched in sweat but lucid. The compulsive need for Jace's touch lessened from frantic demand to a constant, low-level ache for proximity. Their vitals remained unnervingly linked. Jace jury-rigged a nutrient feed, stabilizing her enough for rest. He argued with the station's AI, splicing sensor feeds, emphasizing Sira's stabilized vitals, stressing the need for the main lab's equipment. Finally, the system relented. The med bay door slid open. Freedom, even just into the corridor, felt immense. First, full genomic sequencing of that bite sample, Jace declared, helping Sira up. She leaned heavily on him, but was determined. We need to know exactly what Typhon put inside you. Then we figure out how to neutralize it. And then we find proof strong enough to bring down a corporation. In the pristine main lab, Jace prepped the high-resolution genomic sequencer, loading the biosample from the sealant patch on Sira's arm. While it worked, Sira tried the long-range comms. Static answered. The storm had damaged the array. Still cut off, still alone. Initial sequencing data spooled onto the holo display. Nanospore presence confirmed. Elegant, terrifyingly complex. Deep cross-referencing yielded no precise match for the nanite architecture, new, unique, or incredibly well hidden. But the underlying principles, biointegration, resonant frequency, harmonics resonated faintly, with highly classified theoretical bioengineering concepts exploring forced empathy, supposedly abandoned decades ago. The sequencer flagged secondary findings, trace elemental signatures in the nanospore lattice, isotopic fingerprints. Jace ran them against deep archival manifests. A faint hit, buried under layers of obfuscation, Project Devotion, Typhon Corp. Officially terminated 15 years prior, optimization of team cohesion. Cross-referenced with the tracers and Sira's Shimval story, the darker picture emerged. Typhon Corporation, Jace confirmed. Project Devotion. They never stopped. Just went black ops. This isn't just loyalty. It's absolute control, engineered biologically. Sira looked from the data to Jace, horrified. They refined it, weaponized empathy. And they chose Veridara. Why here? He connected her earlier speculation with the data. Veridara's location, the ruins, the planet's unique bioresonant field properties, mentioned in obscure surveys. Sira, sometimes referenced. Maybe Typhon believed something crucial lay hidden near ancient Alari tech, or specific environmental factors, or perhaps Sira herself. Her lineage held a genetic key. The sequencer pinged, tertiary analysis complete. Degraded ancient Alari DNA fragments confirmed a link to the past. Partial sequences matched local Veridaran invertebrates, confirming the bioengineered native creature vector. We need proof, Sira, Jace stated, voice hard. Irrefutable proof. Logs, comm records, anything linking Typhon Command directly to Project Devotion in this test. We need their base. Here called her mention of ruins. Submerged ruins northeast? Ancient Alari facilities. Could Typhon have reactivated one? Highly possible, Sira conceded, mind racing. Site Aleph 7. 30 clicks northeast. Submerged centuries ago. Officially unstable. Forbidden territory. Ideal for a clandestine operation. It's dangerous, Jace acknowledged. Geological instability, collapsing structures, Typhon security. But staying here, waiting for their retrieval team. That's not an option. We expose them, or we become permanent exhibits. We take the fight to them. Ceram his gaze, fever fog replaced by burning determination. The bond hummed between them, artificial, manipulative, yet amplifying their shared resolve. Agreed, she said firmly. We go to Site Aleph 7, retrieve the evidence, make Typhon answer. They gathered supplies, scanners, medkits. Weapons were limited, sonic disruptors, a pulse-stun baton. Jace checked Sira, vitals stable, synchronized. Her reliance on proximity lessened, but anxiety lingered if they separated too far. Before leaving, Jace triple wiped the station's logs, erasing their discoveries. He reset the beacon to transmit a low-priority minor equipment malfunction message, hoping to buy time. Back in the swamp's embrace, the wilderness felt charged with menace. Under the twin moons, they moved cautiously northeast. The path led gradually onto higher ground, hills carpeted in phosphorescent moss, and crystalline flora chiming faintly. Away from the station's shielding, the bond resonated more strongly, a constant subliminal hum. Cresting a ridge overlooking a mist-shrouded valley, Sira froze, gripping Jace's arm. Wait, her head tilted. Listen. Jace heard only Veridara's nocturnal chorus. Hear what? High-frequency emissions, she whispered, tense. Gravitic drive signatures. Multiple sources. Airborne. Approaching fast. Low altitude. His scanner confirmed it on M detection. 3 distinct energy signatures converging. Low altitude. Avoiding orbital detection. Drones, Jace muttered. Stealth recon units. Typhon. They knew we left. How? We wiped the logs. Unless the station is compromised, Sira suggested. Hidden surveillance. Or, Jace, what if the nanites are transmitting? A low-level signal reporting our position? Tagged like animals. They scrambled down the slope, seeking cover in a grove of towering, pulsating fungi. 3 sleek obsidian drones swept overhead, meters above the caps, predatory red optical sensors scanning. They passed over, continuing towards the distant station. Checking the station first, Jace breathed. Buys us time. But once they find it empty, they'll grid search. They know we're heading for the ruins. We need to move faster. Urgency propelled them. The terrain grew challenging. Ancient rock formations like broken bones forced detours through narrow canyons. They followed a game trail downwards into a vast sunken basin. Ahead lay Site Aleph 7, stark geometric structures of unknown dark stone, half submerged in a murky lake, choked with glowing reeds. Only the upper tiers of the largest central buildings breached the surface, encrusted with mineral sand lichen. An eerie silence hung over the site. Central Archive Complex should be in that main tower, Sira indicated. We'll need the dive gear. Jace retrieved compact rebreathers, lights, and micro-propulsion units. Stay close, he reminded her. The words, redundant. The bond pulsed, tightening as they prepared to enter the depths. They slipped into the cool, surprisingly clear water, sounds muted instantly. Dive lights sliced the emerald depths, revealing submerged antiquity, vast corridors, collapsed archways, intricate carvings. School-soft bioluminescent fish darted like living jewels. The ruins felt impossibly old, imbued with loss and dormant power. They found an access point to the central tower, a massive arched portal into a wide, partially flooded stairwell descending into blackness. Water streamed from ceiling cracks. The air inside was heavy, stale, smelling of wet stone, ancient dust, and something faint, metallic, antiseptic, out of place. Someone's been here, Sira confirmed via comms. Recently, this air, filtered, They descended cautiously through submerged levels, navigating debris-strewn passages. Lower levels were almost entirely flooded vast, echoing chambers filled with ghostly remnants of Alari civilization. Crystalline consoles stood silent, broken conduits coiled like metallic snakes. 50 meters down, a stark difference. A heavy, reinforced blast door of modern Federation alloys blocked a corridor. No markings, but its sophisticated lock glowed faintly. Beside it, a small bioscanner pulsed. "This isn't Alari," Sira stated. "This is their entrance." Typhon's hidden lab. Jace examined the lock. High security biometric, likely keyed to specific personnel. Hacking it would take time they didn't have. Then, a wild gamble, sparked by the bond itself. Long shot, Sira. But the nanites, they've integrated, altered your biosignature. Maybe they resonate on frequencies Typhon's tech recognizes. What if the door is keyed to the experiment? To the bond? Try it. Hesitantly, Sira placed her bare palm on the scanner. It flared green, analyzing her unique Alari signature, subtly altered by the nanites. Agonizing seconds passed. Then, a soft chime. Access granted. Authorization Alpha 7. The massive door hissed open, revealing a brightly lit, sterile modern passageway. It worked. Jace stared, dumbfounded. They keyed their security to their own illegal bioweapon. The arrogance. The corridor beyond was jarringly contemporary. Gleaming white panels, recessed lighting. It felt like stepping into a hyper-modern facility, hidden within the ancient tomb. They moved quickly down the sloping corridor, past sealed lab doors and empty processing rooms. The air hummed with active machinery. They found the control room, circular, dominated by a dark holographic table, banks of terminals lining the walls displaying data streams and security feeds. Jace went to the main console, bypassing primary logins, seeking guest terminals or maintenance backdoors. He just needed information. He found it faster than expected, buried under misleading file structures, project devotion, active site, Veridara, protocols, parameters, subject monitoring logs, personnel manifests, and surveillance data. Terabytes of it. Hidden micro-cameras throughout the swamp. Footage of their arrival, the engineered creature release, the likely triggered flood, Jace's search, Sira's ordeal, their journey, the station confinement. Every conversation, interaction, vital sign fluctuation, manifestation of the bond meticulously recorded, analyzed. They watched everything, Jace whispered, scrolling through logs, detached notes analyzing their bond strength, proximity dependency, emotional responses. It was all orchestrated. The accident, the storm, the lockdown, calculated variables to accelerate bonding, maximize data. Sira, at another terminal, gasped. Jace, look, Dr. Eris Thorne, chief biogeneticist. Officially vanished 3 years ago. Public story. Defected. Internal status here. Project lead. Active. They staged it. Reassigned him here to run this atrocity. Thorne. Jace felt a chill. Brilliant, unethical, notorious for forbidden research. He dug deeper, uncovering phased objectives. Phase 1. Human Alari cross-species. Bond stabilization, subjects Alpha Sira, Beta Jace. Achieved. Phase 2. Refinement of control parameters. Induction of targeted emotional states loyalty. Obedience via resonant frequency manipulation. In progress. Phase 3. Scaled deployment across Typhon assets. Projected applications, armies incapable of questioning, workforces biologically bound, partners programmed for devotion. Complete subjugation of free will. Beyond monstrous, Sira breathed, trembling with rage and violation, puppets dancing on biological strings. And we were the proof of concept. Jace finished grimly, pointing to a summary report. Phase 1 complete. Recommend immediate extraction for Phase 2 implementation. Time stamped just before the storm cut comms. They were planning to come for us. Soon. As if summoned, alarms shrieked. Flashing red lights. INTRUDERALERT security breach. Control room compromised. Lockdown protocols engaged. They know we're here, Jace yelled, slamming a portable data cipher into the console, initiating a rapid data siphon copying everything: logs, research, surveillance. Thorne's reports. Proof! We have to go, Sira shouted, pulling him towards the blast door. Heavy footsteps pounded down the corridor. Typhon security troopers in black carapace armor appeared, pulse rifles raised, targeting lasers painting red dots on their chests. Freeze! Hands up! ONTH the ground. No time. Jace shoved Sira ahead, spun, and fired his sonic disruptor at maximum. The sound wave hit the troopers, disorienting them, giving precious seconds. They scrambled through the blast door, Jace slapping the emergency closure. The door slid shut as troopers opened fire, plasma bolts searing the metal but failing to breach it. They raced back through ancient corridors, plunging into the submerged sections, hearts pounding. Behind, muffled thuds and charges Typhon breaching the door. They surfaced in the wide stairwell chamber, gasping, ripping off masks. Moon's light revealed spreading ripples near the tower. Typhon had surface teams, submersibles. The ruins were a closing trap. There, Jace pointed across the lake to the far shore, where cliffs rose steeply, riddled with caves. If we reached those cliffs, we might lose them. They swam across the cold lake, Site Aleph 7 receding behind them. Sounds of pursuit seemed muted by distance. They dragged themselves onto the rocky shore, soaked, shivering, muscles burning. Adrenaline and the stolen data unit kept them moving. They scrambled up the slope towards the dark promise of caves. Halfway up, Sira cried out, stumbling, clutching her side. A dark stain spread across her undersuit. Hit? When? Back at the door, she gasped, leaning against rock, breath ragged. Stray shot. Ricochet. Didn't feel it. Until now. A nasty plasma graze. Cauterized, but bleeding significantly. Debilitating. Jace applied sealant and a pressure bandage. Searchlight beams swept the lake below. Can you move? Have to, Sira gritted, pushing herself away, pale but resolute. Almost there. Suddenly, a blinding spotlight stabbed down, pinning them. A large, ominous shape descended a Typhon assault drone, heavily armed. Targets acquired. Positive ID. Subjects Alpha and Beta. Its amplified voice boomed. Ground teams converging. Prepare for non-lethal immobilization. Stand down. Exposed. Trapped. Jace raised his sonic disruptor futilely. But Sira straightened, facing the drone, defiant. A faint teal light glowed around her, originating from her skin, intensifying rapidly. The air crackled. Her eyes ignited with the same luminous teal, focused unwaveringly on the drone. It felt like the strange energy Jace's suit had briefly registered earlier, now amplified immensely. Sira, what? The bond, Jace, she whispered, voice resonant, deeper, echoing with unfamiliar power. It's more than compulsion. The nanites, they unlocked something. Integrated with latent Alari bioenergetics. Dormant, maybe since the Shimval. Typhon didn't know. Before he could react, Sira thrust her hands upwards. Pure, coherent teal energy erupted, coalescing into a searing beam that lanced skyward, striking the drone's underbelly. Blinding flash. Deafening concussion. The drone exploded in sparks and flame, wreckage tumbling into the lake. The tea light faded. Sira swayed, then collapsed into Jace's arms, unconscious, breathing shallowly, the wound bleeding freely. Jace stared, stunned, from the burning debris to Sira's still form. Bioenergetics? Latent potential? Another unforeseen consequence? Or something inherent in Sira, triggered by the bond? No time. The explosion was a catastrophic beacon. He spotted a narrow vertical fissure obscured by rockfall above. Lifting Sira gently, fueled by adrenaline, he scrambled up, squeezing them into the tight crevice, pulling loose rocks across the opening, just as multiple searchlights converged on the blast site. Shouted commands echoed below. Repelling lines clattered against rock. He held his breath, pressing them deeper into darkness. He held Sira close, feeling her faint breath, the steady, quiet hum of the bond connecting them. Forged by enemies, now transformed into something unpredictable, powerful. Something Typhon had dangerously, catastrophically failed to account for. He clutched the data unit containing their proof. The experiment wasn't over. It had just entered a new, defiant phase.